6 o'clock hour, I'll call this meeting to order. Can everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? And I'd ask for a moment of silence, especially with everything going on in the world today.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
17 present, 1 absent.
Just so for the sake of everybody, tonight we will do a roll call individually so that then it can be displayed on the screen. We'll see how that works. And then just for general knowledge, we are reviewing how we will vote going forward with the systems. But we'll see how this works tonight since we've had some issues here in the last 2 times. Next is, can I get a motion for the approval of the September 14th minutes? Member Salzer, Member Duncan. Any questions, comments, corrections? Seeing none, roll call.
Member Blair? Aye. Member Bryant? Aye. Member Coates? Aye. Member Daly?
Aye.
Member Duncan? Aye. Member Alsasser is absent. Member Groves Allison? Aye. Member Hare? Aye. Member Kelch? Aye. Member Phelan? Aye. Member Renault? Aye. Member Ricker? Aye. Member Rosenbaum?
Aye.
Member Rulin? Member Salzer?
Aye.
Member Williams? Aye. Member Windisch? Aye. And Member Dillon?
Aye.
17 ayes.
Next is citizens' remarks. We have 2. Just a reminder to 5 minutes to each speaker, and please keep the conversation cordial. First up is Kimberly Strack.
Hi there, my name is Kimberly Strack. I'm from Peoria. Do you need my residence again? Okay. I'm just here to tell everyone that I have 416 individually signed petition cards to give to the Peoria County Board. We're requesting you to support a county moratorium on the high-pressure carbon dioxide pipelines until the federal regulations, they're right now under review, are finalized and in effect. Previously, a packet containing 117 petition cards was presented to the board. The current total of signed personal requests to urge you to move forward with drafting and consideration of a moratorium on the CO2 pipeline is now 533. These cards represent your people, individuals in your county board districts, as we are asking you for action on this serious matter of life and safety for Peoria County. Each one says, "Dear elected officials, I ask you to vote to approve a moratorium on any carbon dioxide pipelines coming into your jurisdiction until the U.S. Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration updates to existing regulations are completed and in effect. Existing state and federal regulations are not adequate to protect town and farm families, rural residential areas, and others that could be at risk from the devastating and deadly CO2 pipeline accident. Federal CO2 pipeline regulations are under review and are expected to update in 2024. This is because of the CO2 pipeline rupture a mile from Satarsha, Mississippi, where 200 were evacuated and 45 were sent to the hospital and ERs, even though the town was not shown on the company modeling to be at risk. A moratorium is an important step to clearly state CO2 pipelines should be on hold until the revised federal regulations are in effect. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Tracy Fox.
Hi, my name is Tracy Fox. I live out in Medina Township, and I'm a resident of the county. I first of all want to thank Peoria County for intervening. I think it's an important first step to be able to take a look at the docket and really understand how little information Wolf is providing. I know that there's been a narrative going around that Peoria County really can't do much, that counties are pretty much powerless in this situation. And I want to draw your attention to some recent guidance sent out by the Pipeline Hazardous Materials and Safety Administration. And the third paragraph clearly reads, responsibility for siting new carbon dioxide pipelines rests largely with the individual states and counties which the pipeline will operate and is governed by state and local law. There's been a dominant narrative that PHMSA and their regulations somehow prevent this county from doing anything with siting. It prevents this county from taking action on a pipeline. And I would suggest that that's a false narrative. And the facts of this letter are interesting. I find it odd that a government official would write a letter to the head of 3 pipeline companies telling them that and then publish it on the internet. Perhaps he's working in his own way to counter misinformation and to empower and embolden bodies like Peoria County Board. I know that in South Dakota, in North Dakota, in parts of Iowa, in parts of Nebraska, and even in a county in Kansas, boards have stepped up and put in place moratoriums or come out with statements of opposition, instituted special use zoning, and taken other actions because their citizens are concerned and share the opinion of Mark Maples, technical staff to the ICC, saying, we're not ready for these pipelines. The new regulations are coming in response to a terrible event that just barely escaped being a mass casualty situation down in Mississippi. And I think that it's important for Peoria County to understand that while citizen activists can hire a lawyer and we can go down there, we're not tasked with representing the interests of Peoria County. It's all of you who are. And so I would encourage you to take that intervention a step farther. Consider the merits of a moratorium and buy yourself some time to take a hard look at the situation. Secondly, I would encourage you to review zoning and make sure that we're doing everything possible to protect existing homes, existing farms, existing businesses, churches, schools, and the like that are very close to this pipeline when there is absolutely no guidance on what appropriate setbacks are, strictly those provided by the company. And thirdly, I would ask that you consider coming out in full opposition. I think once you review the fact that this area is full of mine subsidence, and my mind flashes back to Satarsha and the erosion that caused that pipe to burst in the first place, released the cloud, sent 45 to the hospital, injured 200. I think that ought to be something that a county that is riddled with old, poorly mapped underground mines ought to be cognizant of. And this board, of all people, considering the situation with the city-county landfill, ought to pay heed to the fact that those mines can have serious consequences down the road. Similarly, I think that we should be cognizant of the burdens that we're going to be placing on emergency services. For those of you who live in Peoria and are served by professional firefighters, maybe they'll be up to the task. They'll get it together. They'll get the kinds of electric vehicles and other equipment that they need. Maybe the Peoria police will get breathing apparatus so that if they're first on the scene, they won't be the blue canaries who succumb to a CO2 release. But out in the rural areas, it gets patchy fast. You have volunteer fire departments that, frankly, I haven't even been able to figure out how to talk to. I've left material at their doors because these firehouses are unmanned. They don't have any public way of contacting them. So I'm pretty certain that they're not in close conversation with the company that's bringing all of this to our area. Stand with your citizens. Screw to your courage and think about what you can do. Other counties, Sangamon, Hancock, McDonough, have found it within their wherewithal to take action, and I know Peoria County Board can lead in that same way. Thank you.
Thanks, Tracy. So no proclamations tonight, which has been a while for no proclamations.
So next we'd be at the consent agenda.
Is there a motion? Mr. Rosenbaum? Member Blair? Does anybody like anything pulled? Seeing none, roll call.
Member Bryant?
Oh, did you say her or me?
Member Bryant?
Aye.
I'm sorry. I did
Blair.
say Bryant.
Okay.
But Member Blair?
Aye.
Thank you. Member Bryant? Member Coates? Daly?
Aye.
Member Duncan? Member Groves Allison?
Aye.
Member Hare? Member Kelch? Member Phelan? Member Renault? Member Ricker? Member Rosenbaum? Member Rulin? Member Salzer?
Aye.
Member Williams? Member Windisch? And Member Dillon.
Aye.
17 ayes. Next would be zoning ordinance and resolutions. Put this up here. Item number 1 is case number ZBA 2023-0036, petition of RPIL Solar 7 LLC, a special use request from section 20-5.2.2.2.h of the Unified Development Ordinance. This section allows for a special use in the A2 Agricultural Zoning District for solar energy generation facility, provided that the conditions in section 7.17 of these regulations are met. The petitioner requests a special use to operate a 499 MWAC commercial solar energy facility in the A2 Agricultural Zoning District. The petitioner requests to construct a commercial solar energy facility across approximately 36 acres of the subject 84.8916 acre parcel. The parcel is located in Kickapoo Township. The Zoning Board of Appeals recommends approval with restrictions. The Land Use Committee concurs.
Member Rosenbaum? Member Daly? Any questions? Member Rosenbaum?
This is just a solar facility. It's going to be west of Grand Prairie up there on 150.
Any other questions? Seeing none, roll call.
Member Blair?
Aye.
Member Bryant?
Aye.
Member Coates? Member Daly?
Aye.
Member Duncan? Member Elsasser is absent. Ms. Groves Allison?
Aye.
Member Hare? Member Kelch? Member Phelan? Member Renault? Member Ricker? Member Rosenbaum? Oops. Member Rulin? Member Salzer?
Aye.
Member Williams? Member Windisch? And Member Dillon.
Aye.
17 ayes. Item number 2 is case ZBA 2023-0040, petition of Marilyn Strickfadden, a request to modify special use case ZBA 2023-0023, which was granted to divide 4 acres from the existing 37.607 acre tract. The petitioner requests to divide 5 acres instead of 4 acres from the existing 38.607 acre tract in order to separate an existing residence and outbuilding from the remaining agricultural use in the A1 Agricultural Preservation District. The parcel is located in Logan Township. The Zoning Board of Appeals recommends approval. The Land Use Committee concurs.
Member Rosenbaum? Member Daly? Roll call.
Member Blair?
Aye.
Member Bryant?
Aye.
Member Coates? Member Daley?
Aye.
Member Duncan? Aye. Member Groves Allison?
Aye.
Member Hare? Member Kelch? Member Phelan? Member Renault? Member Ricker? Member Rosenbaum? Member Rulin? Member Salzer?
Aye.
Member Williams? Member Windisch? And Member Dillon.
Aye.
17 ayes. Item number 3, resolution from your County Operations Committee recommending approval of the collective bargaining agreement between Peoria County and ASME-PICA Local 3586 and FY 2023 budget amendment.
Member Ricker, Member Blair. Roll call. Sorry, any questions, comments? Member Blair.
I just want to give a huge thank you to Shauna, her team, Rachel, for representing the electeds, and all the wonderful employees who were able to come to a mutually agreed upon decision.
Any other questions? Seeing none, now roll call.
Member Blair?
Aye.
Member Bryant?
Aye.
Member Coates? Aye. Member Duncan? Aye. Member Daley?
Aye.
Member Groves Allison?
Aye.
Member Hare? Member Kelch? Member Phelan? Member Renault? Member Ricker? Member Rosenbaum? Member Rulin? Member Salzer?
Aye.
Member Williams? Member Windisch? And Member Dillon.
Aye.
17 ayes. Item 4 is a resolution from your County Operations Committee recommending approval of the FY 2024 authorized staffing count for Peoria County administrative departments.
Member Ricker. Member Duncan. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, roll call.
Member Blair?
Aye.
Member Bryant?
Aye.
Member Coates? Member Daley?
Aye.
Member Duncan? Aye. Member Groves Allison?
Aye.
Member Hare? Member Kelch? Member Phelan? Member Renault? Member Ricker? Member Rosenbaum? Member Rulin? Member Salzer?
Aye.
Member Williams? Member Windisch? And Member Dillon.
Aye.
17 ayes. Item 5 is a resolution from your County Operations Committee recommending adoption of Peoria County's Employee Health Plan premium increase and subsidy for employees and eligible retirees on the standard PPO plan, the Qualified High Deductible Health Plan, and the IMRF Medicare Eligible Retiree Plan, effective January 1st, 2024 through December 31st of 2024.
Member Ricker. Member Blair. Questions? Seeing none, roll call.
Okay. Member Blair?
Aye.
Member Bryant?
Aye.
Member Coates? Aye. Member Daley?
Aye.
Member Duncan?
Aye.
Member Groves Allison?
Aye.
Member Hare? Member Kelch? Member Phelan? Member Renault? Member Ricker? Member Rosenbaum? Member Rulin? Member Salzer?
Aye.
Member Williams? Member Windisch? And Member Dillon.
Aye.
17 ayes. Item 6 is a resolution from your Infrastructure Committee recommending approval of a local agency agreement for participation in the Illinois Department of Transportation's 2024 County Engineers Salary Program.
Member Salzer. Member Kelch. Any questions? Member Rosenbaum.
Could you just explain to the public what savings the county's getting for us going along with this program, the amount of money.
Member Salzer, do you want to explain it, or do you want me to? Go for it.
Well, I can't tell you the exact amount of money, but IDOT will pay half of the salary of Amy, and I think I didn't take time to divide what her salary is and so forth, but we, by participating in this, and we have, now it's a 6-year agreement, contract, but we do have a right to increase her salary during that period of time, because each year, you know, we could bring it up. Now, we've already said, I know in our committee meeting and so forth, about how good our engineer is, and with, of course, the state's program, and of course, all but 3 of our counties in the state do participate in this program. But we do save, you know, half of the salary of our county engineer. And she's got to meet certain standards. It's just not a, you know, flat out approval, said, oh yeah, let's do this and so forth. They've got some standards that she must meet.
Thank you, Member Rosenbaum. Any other questions? Seeing none, roll call.
Member Blair?
Aye.
Member Bryant?
Aye.
Member Coates?
Aye.
Member Daly?
Aye.
Member Duncan?
Aye.
Member Groves Allison?
Aye.
Member Hare? Member Kelch? Member Phelan? Member Renault? Member Ricker? Member Rosenbaum? Member Rulin? Member Salzer?
Aye.
Member Williams? Member Wendish? Member Dillon?
Aye.
17 ayes. Item 7 is a joint resolution from your Finance, Audit, and Legislative Affairs Committee and your Executive Committee recommending approval of the annual authorization for year-end transfers.
Member Williams, Member Daly. Any questions? Member Ricker.
I told Ms. Musselman I'd give her a question, so this is the one for her. Just to explain for the public what this means. Thank you.
You allowed me an easy one, thank you. This is just general housekeeping that we do at the end of every year with the budget adoption, and what this does is grants the county administrator authority to authorize any budgetary transfers in period 13 at the end of the year that may be needed between line items to cover any outstanding bills.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, roll call.
Member Blair?
Aye.
Member Bryant?
Aye.
Member Coates?
Aye.
Member Daly?
Aye.
Member Duncan?
Aye.
Member Groves Allison?
Aye.
Member Hare? Member Kelch? Member Phelan? Member Renault? Member Ricker? Member Rosenbaum? Member Rulin? Member Salzer?
Aye.
Member Williams? Member Wendish? And Member Dillon?
Aye.
17 ayes. Item number 7 is a joint resolution from your Finance, Audit, and Legislative Affairs Committee and your Executive Committee recommending approval. Oh, we did that one. Sorry about that. I didn't move my screen up. I'm used to reading off my paper instead of this nice big screen. Okay. Item number 8. A joint resolution from your Finance, Audit, and Legislative Affairs Committee and your Executive Committee recommending approval to abate the tax levy for the principal and interest payments due in FY 2024 for A, the general obligation bonds, Series 2020B, and B, the general obligation bonds, Series 2022.
Is there a motion? Member Williams? Member Hare? Member Williams, we got a PowerPoint coming up too.
Yeah, right. Shauna, do you want to explain this one?
Happy to, thank you. What this does is generally we would do a levy within the debt service fund, but because we have two alternative revenue sources for each of these, or one for each of these bonds, so the first one that was listed is for the Riverfront Museum, and with that we utilize the public facility sales tax to pay that debt, and then the Headington Oaks has its own property tax levy, so therefore we don't need to levy within the debt service fund, so this is just authorizing us to not have to do that.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, roll call.
Member Blair?
Aye.
Member Bryant?
Aye.
Member Coates? Aye. Member Daly?
Aye.
Member Duncan?
Aye.
Member Groves Allison?
Aye.
Member Hare? Member Kelch? Member Phelan? Member Renault? Member Ricker? Member Rosenbaum? Member Rulin? Member Salzer?
Aye.
Member Williams? Member Wendish? Member Dillon?
Aye.
17 ayes. Is the presentation ready?
We have to put it on the floor first.
Okay. I don't have the motion to read because,
Number 9.
okay,
So
but I
that's
thought
the-
it was,
Yep.
okay. Adoption of the annual tax levy, all funds.
Member Williams, Member Bryant. This one, we do have a PowerPoint.
Can everyone hear me okay? Okay. All right, I'm going to present on the fiscal 24 budget recommendation. And I first want to thank everyone who was involved with the budget process this year. It was a brand new process with new ERP software, with new budget book software, and just a new process in general. And so I appreciate everybody who was involved across the county, elected officials appointed, and staff. And a special thanks to the finance department team for working a lot of late nights and weekends to make sure we met our deadline. So I just wanted to give them some credit here. So the cover photo on this year's budget is Cedar Hills Drive, and it's was taken standing in Member Elsasser's district facing Member Ricker's district. Some of these slides you have seen before if you've been in committees, but there's also some new content in here, so I'll try not to be too incredibly redundant. Across all funds, the recommended budget is $155.2 million in sources, where the revenue comes from, and this includes $4.6 million in planned use of fund balance reserves, and $155.2 million in the uses or expenditures where the money goes. Intergovernmental revenues is our largest source of funds, and personnel is our biggest, largest expense line. Regarding property taxes, the recommendation is to maintain the longstanding practice of the board in keeping the recommended rate of 82.41 cents per $100 of EAV flat. When you apply the rate to the tax levy by fund, you have a $31.34 million, which is an increase in the property taxes that were paid in 2023. This is due to a 6.7% increase in property values on all property across the county that resulted from the quadrennial assessment conducted earlier this year. The pie chart represents how the 82.41 pennies are divided. The blue and gray wedges represent the operating budgets that have property tax associated with them, and the gold and tan wedges reflect the retirement budgets with property tax associated. As
Shauna mentioned, there's no debt service levy reflected, as the county is not levying for this since we have alternate revenue sources. Headington Oaks levy is an operating budget and levy, and we use those dollars to pay on bond payments. We recommend levying the full 6 pennies, which is the maximum we can pursue. Provided this board and future boards continue to levy the maximum, there should be a substantial nest egg in 2032 when the bonds are callable, and the board at that time can decide whether they want to pay down the bonds or pay them off completely. While the overall property tax rate remains flat, the Risk Management Fund saw an increase of 2.3 cents, while the IMRF fund saw a decrease of 1.17 cents, and that's due to IMRF sets the rates for that. And then an overall a 2.6 cents decrease in the pension funds. The changes made were intentional to ensure we maintain healthy fund balances. The EAV growth of 6.7% that was mentioned in the prior slide results in an increase of $1.9 million in additional property tax revenue. This graph shows the EAV history over the past 15 years, where the county has seen 2 3-year segments with a negative EAV and the estimated increase of 6.7% in 2024. This is the 4th largest increase in 23 years. Other year increases that were higher include 98 payable in 99 at 7.7%, 99 payable in 2000 at 6.9%, and 2007 payable 2008 at 7.92%. Yeah, time's up. There will be another ding in about 2 minutes. These graphs represent the overall recommended budget for the county, including all funds by committee. The executive committee oversees the greatest portion of revenues at 32%, while Public Safety and Justice Committee oversees the largest expenditures at 36%. The general fund represents about 1/3 of the entire organization's budget. It is balanced revenues to expenses at $57 million, with a planned use of a reserve fund balance for the recently negotiated collective bargaining agreement for PICA employees. Intergovernmental revenues are the largest source of income, and again, personnel expenses are the largest. These graphs represent which committees have oversight of which portion of the budget in regards to general fund. While the Public Safety Committee oversees most of the expenses, again, the Executive Committee oversees a majority of the revenue in the general fund. This is what we call our general fund balancing for the future chart. The navy blue area represents fund balance over time. The gold line represents the board's written financial policy for maintaining a 24% fund balance reserve on hand, and the light blue dotted line represents the unwritten comfort level of the board of having 30% of reserves on hand. When this chart was created about 7 or 8 years ago, the projection was that the county would be out of reserves at this point in time, but fortunately through the actions of the board, this is not the case. We've also had a bolstering by economic activity in recent years, and we've been able to build up some reserves and project to have a healthy fund into the next decade. This slide represents the headcount by appointed and elected departments over the past 10-year period. There's a notable drop-off between 2020 and 2021, and that is due to the closure of Headington Oaks. The personnel-related changes that were recommended for fiscal '24, just a few highlights from the county administrator departments. PCAPS, our animal shelter, saw a 2 FTE increase in late additions in fiscal '23, 1 for an animal control officer and 1 for the mobile services unit assistant. Facilities and grounds will gain 2 staff members, 1 at the courthouse and 1 at the jail. Planning and zoning will hire a part-time plumbing inspector, and then there's 1 additional employee for sustainability and resource that restores a position that was in place pre-COVID. For boards, commissions, and agencies, the Emergency Telephone Systems Board has a temporary 1 full-time employee increase for succession planning, and the Health Department has a slight increase due to increased grants. For staff overseen by elected officials, the county coroner has a half full-time increase to reduce overtime. The sheriff has 2 new fully funded officer positions from the Greater Peoria Auto Crimes Task Force, or the GPACT grant, and they're reinstating a training lieutenant position. The state's attorney is adding an assistant state's attorney, which is also funded by the GPACT grant. In the judicial branch, highlights are the addition of 1 probation officer in court administration and the addition of a felony assistant public defender and a paralegal within the public defender's office. And this is related to the shift from working with contractors to having more full-time staff in the office. There have been a few questions surrounding the increase in personnel expenses, which I've talked to a couple board members separately on, but we thought it would be a good idea to review this topic tonight to hopefully provide clarity for those who may still have questions and just to kind of explain what these categories in the budget book mean. So personnel expenses include all wages, regular, overtime, paid time off bonuses, health insurance, retirement, unemployment, and workers' compensation. On the slide is a snapshot of these expenses from fiscal 21 actuals through fiscal 24 recommended budget. And these are in your budget book, but these numbers have been updated to include the PICA amendment that we're anticipating passed tonight. So the confusion, I think the confusion in comparison lies within the data and how it's being compared and how it's organized. You naturally go to the projected and the budget because they're side by side, and it's kind of comparing apples to oranges. So if you look at the difference between projected 23 and the budget of 24, it appears there's a $7 million increase, and this is a bit misleading for a couple of reasons. Departments use the adopted budget as their baseline for budgeting for the next fiscal year, not the projected numbers. The baseline of the adopted budget includes salaries and benefits for all positions, including vacancies within their departments. The projected number reports only actual and projected expenses through the end of the year. So it excludes any vacancies that were unfilled during the year and thus had no expenses associated with them. So the vacancies that were budgeted for but had no expenses are not reflected in the projected budget. You can see between the adopted and the projected, there's a $4 million difference or savings. So that is for positions that were budgeted in fiscal 23 that were not filled or had turnover. So departments budgeted for $57.6 million in personnel in 2023, but they anticipate only spending $53.5 due to unfilled vacancies. But they budget off of the adopted budget numbers, which includes the vacancies, and that's where the discrepancy lies. So rather, it's a little easier to compare apples to apples in looking at the actuals to the projected. We have a better representation of what is anticipated for spend, including positions that were not filled during a given fiscal year. And by comparing the adopted budget to the recommended budget, we have a better representation as to what departments believe they need and what they're planning for the next fiscal year, including all the vacancies and related expenses that they would like to fill during next year. So this is something I think we can all work together on for the fiscal 2025 budget to ensure that departments' needs are met and at the same time reflecting realistic expectations in our hiring. Hopefully I didn't confuse the matter more. For policy investments, in this budget we have appropriated all the remaining funds for ARPA in fiscal 24 and intend to have them all expended by the end of fiscal 26 per the U.S. Treasury guidelines. Included in that are our economic development investments, including G-Beta, Distillery Labs, Central Illinois Living Laboratory, Convention and Visitors Bureau, and various entrepreneurships through our small business initiatives. The construction for the HHS campus is well underway, and we have an estimated completion date at late next year. And we are investing in infrastructure for our county highway with the fleet garage, salt dome, and fuel depot. In regard to investment in our workforce, there are several initiatives, including a partial subsidy of health insurance costs and wage increases for collective bargaining units. And finally, the county is using capital projects funds to invest in our infrastructure and capital assets as well. In fiscal 24's budget, we have $2.4 million appropriated to invest in the courthouse, the building envelope, cleaning and sealing, Main Street steps and plaza fountain repair, paint and carpet refresh, county board committee room update, and courtroom bench repair. And then we're going to invest $1.7 million in our jail for cell repairs, ring road improvements, tuck pointing, master plan for the jail, a muffin monster / grinder, if anyone wants to know what that is, and energy efficiency study. And last but not least, $175,000 designated for the JDC's parking lot repair. All of the aforementioned are in alignment with the initiatives of the strategic plan that was recently passed. We will be focusing on capital improvement funding strategies, value of infrastructure, and health insurance affordability. So I'm happy to answer any questions. Yes.
Can you tell us, on average, maybe a percentage of how many open positions we have at one time? Is it 20%, 10?
Was it on this budgeted for? So about 10%. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. About 10%, I would say. Oh, that's dollar amount, though. Right. Yep. So in this budget, we had 70 vacancies budgeted for, and we have 641 staff were paid on the last payroll, but that includes part-time. So the conversion to FTE, I can't calculate that real quick for you, but I'd say it's about 10%.
Member Renault.
Thank you for that, and thank you for explaining it to me the first time around, too. Appreciate it. One question I had is, so I'm still trying to wrap my head around ignoring the projected when we go to budget for the next year. And the unused money for personnel, that goes into each department's fund balance reserve, correct?
Technically, most of it rolls back into the general fund reserves. It doesn't go back to the department. So most of the vacancies are in the general fund departments. And so that money rolls back into the general fund, yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. That's what I wanted to know.
And Member Renault, I guess Mr. Bruner's here too, but for just using the sheriff's office for an example, we did have some vacancies, and with some of the issues with the jail cells and other issues that we had there, some of that money that was budgeted for those openings was allowed us to fix. I believe they fixed 10 within the last couple weeks that were inoperable jail cells. So the sheriff had rolled that money into some of his operations to try to correct some things on his own.
Yes.
As an example. Member Phelan?
I know this, excuse me, I know this probably isn't something that you have tonight, but is it reportable how many days outstanding these vacancies, like each vacancy?
That would be more of an HR question, and I'm not sure with our new software.
That's something that I can go back and talk with Angela to see with the new system. And I'm not sure if it's just a snapshot in time or if it goes back month to month, but we can definitely take a look at what we can provide to county operations and the full board. Yep.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Member Ricker?
If you would, could you go back to slide 2, please? I had a constituent who monitors the budget contact me the other day with a question that was a very valid question And I like the way you presented it here. You added the fund balance reserve because his question was, you're not in balance. I did my best to articulate where we used fund balance reserves, but maybe for the audience, if you could just at a very high level explain what that means, that $4.6 million reserve use.
Thank you. And that's one reason I added that, because it was confusing to me. Just looking at it, it doesn't look balanced, even though it is technically balanced. So the fund balance reserve, for most people, you can kind of think of it as your savings account that you have at home. So let's say last year you got a bonus at work and you put your money into this savings account for future use. That's kind of what the fund balance reserve is for the county. Anything that we have been prudent on prior years and we've been able to maintain in fund balance, we can then use that in future years for certain projects that we have. I will say a majority of the fund reserve balance use for this year is for ETSB to upgrade a lot of things that they have in plan. And so, but that's why y'all kind of personally and within an organization kind of squirrel things away when you can to save them for a rainy day and be able to use them.
I just want to, again, thank you for categorizing like you did and explaining, because, again, if you just take it back to your personal comment of as people have their own savings and they manage expenditures, we're doing the same. So for roads, bridges, I think there's some IT things in there that will take some fund balance. The ETSB has a significant one. But again, it's a question that I think over the last 7 years I've been on this board, I get asked that almost every year. Why doesn't it balance? Where's those numbers? What do you explain it? And it's easy to explain when you put it out there, and maybe for future years we may want to throw a slide with just some bullet comments. Here's the general use of the funds that we plan to use those reserves and why we do that. Just being more transparent to our public. Thank you.
Member Rulon.
Shauna, this question is for you. Are we currently actively trying to fill positions that are left open currently? Are we recruiting?
Yes, so there may, those positions that are left open, I can't answer if it's one for one here tonight. It's really up to the department if they're leaving certain positions open for a later date. But for the most part, we do actively recruit for those positions. We have a process in which the elected official or department head goes through HR. We verify that it is an approved vacancy within the budget, that funding is available. And then we go ahead and we post that for that department or work with them to post it in other areas that they want. And then once they select that applicant, then we have a second step within that process where we start the onboarding process.
Thank you.
And if I could give my plug, we update our job board on every Monday.
And I just want to give use an example of positions that remained vacant for a long time, and I'll use our facilities for example. We could not hire anybody at $17, $18 an hour to fill those, but if you've noticed, we have 2 new friendly faces around the courthouse that have been extremely busy, and we do have a new one out at the jail with new ones. It is now more attractive to apply for those positions because it is no longer $17, $18 to apply, asking for people that actually have maintenance experience to work on those. But there are 2 new friendly faces here at the courthouse and 1 out at the jail. And if you talk to anybody out at the jail, they're extremely happy to have that extra relief at a current. They've had 2 trying to man that entire facility, and the JDC was down for a health, so it's been putting some stress on employees. But when we pay a little better, like we've talked about, it does attract some of those vacancies. But I wanted to use that as an example. That was been a problem, and it was addressed, and it appears to be working due to that. The one thing I do want to ask Administrator Musselman to touch on, and I know for everybody on operations, this is going to encompass quite a bit of your time coming forward, but we've done a subsidy on insurance for the last couple of years, but I would just like her to explain how we arrived to that and what we actually pay for the health insurance on a briefly basis. And I'll let her talk about it so I don't steal any of her talking points.
You're fine. So we are continually monitoring the employee health fund and the employee health fund, not only the expenses, but also the revenues within that fund. So that is a separate fund. That is not, those bills are not paid out of the general fund. We fund that through two main revenue sources. That the first is the employer share of the premiums. So those are premiums are paid out of each department's budget for their corresponding employees within their department. We also then have the employee premium that is payroll deducted biweekly and then deposited into the fund, and then we use those revenues to pay the claims. That's important because what we do then is we work every year with NIHART, which is our actuary. They're the math people that we rely on. And they go in and they look at our TPA sends them our claims, and they look at the last 24 months of claims, and then they scrub those claims and kind of smooth out that trend. And then they estimate and they tell us, okay, you know, we're anticipating that you're going to have in 2024 $8.2 million in expenses in the employee health fund. What they do it on a very granular level, more so than what we're able to do in HR, because they look to see, do we have, for example, somebody on dialysis, and they know what those anticipated expenditures would be for that person next year. So we look at it, they look at it very specifically on our behalf. We then take that and say, okay, if we know we have $8.2 million in expenses, then we know we need $8.2 million at a minimum in revenue to at least break even within the employee health fund. And then we go ahead and we set the premiums based upon that. We then also have to look at the Affordable Care Act, and there's a threshold that we have to look at that says that do we have what they define as affordable coverage for a single employee on one of our plans, and we do that test. So in the process of going through that over the last few years, that's what prompted us to come to you and do the subsidy, because we take it a step further, and then we look and say, okay, what are our labor agreements? What are the anticipated budget adoption numbers for wage increases the following year? And then we look at everyone on the plan and we run the numbers to see at that premium level, is there anyone who would have less take-home pay that following year because of the health insurance premium? I mean, obviously, if they make their own deductions and things like that, that's a little different. We can't control that. But we do look at it from a premium standpoint. And then that's what becomes that subsidy that you just adopted earlier tonight. In addition, this year was the first year that we actually did a subsidy on the employee share only, or the employee only share of the premium. And that's because of that affordability test. We were $10 off. So we went ahead and did a subsidy for the first time on the employee share, the employee only coverage, single coverage of the plan, and that's to meet that Affordable Care Act test. So we do look at it to do our best to ensure that no one has less take-home pay because of the premium increase.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, roll call.
Member Blair?
Aye.
Member Bryant?
Aye.
Member Coates?
Aye.
Member Daly?
Aye.
Member Duncan?
Aye.
Member Groves Allison?
Aye.
Member Hare? Member Kelch? Member Phelan? Member Renault? Member Ricker? Member Rosenbaum? Member Rulin? Member Salzer?
Aye.
Member Williams? Member Wendish? Member Dillon?
Aye.
17 ayes. Item 10 is the adoption of the Peoria County Annual Budget and Appropriation Ordinance for January 1, 2024 through December 31st, 2024.
Is there a motion? Member Williams. Member Blair. Well, we're going to need to move to a... Yeah, we had Member Williams, Member Blair, but we need to add the floor amendment to it. So we'll need another amendment to get, motion to get that on the floor also. Member Ricker, Member Renault.
Yep. We need to read that floor amendment, or have the clerk read that into the record?
Item A, floor amendment number 1, appropriate funding for 2024 personnel expenses related to ASME-PICA agreement.
So discussion on the amendment first. Roll call on the amendment to get to the motion as amended.
Roll call on the amendment.
Roll call
On the amendment.
on the amendment.
Okay. Member Blair.
Aye.
Member Bryant.
Aye.
Member Coates. Aye. Member Daly.
Aye.
Member Duncan.
Aye.
Member Groves Allison.
Aye.
Member Hare. Member Kelch. Member Phelan. Member Renault. Member Ricker. Member Rosenbaum. Member Rulin. Member Salzer.
Aye.
Member Williams. Member Windisch. And Member Dillon.
Aye. Now we're back
That's
to
17 on the amendment.
now we're back to the original as amended. Any comments? Member Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have prepared a statement. I want to read it because I want to make sure I cover everything I wanted to say. So, first of all, I want to thank those who have been instrumental in getting to this evening. Our finance team, headed by CFO Heather McCord and Assistant CFO Julie Custerin, along with their staff. Heather, Julie, and team walked me through the questions I had and really worked above and beyond to get us to final budget. I also want to thank administration, elected officials, and department heads for their work and commitment to Peoria County. I do have to give a shout out to Vice Chairman Brandy Bryant, members Linda Daly, Steve Ricker, Rob Renault, and Danny Phelan for their work and the many phone calls to discuss the 2024 budget. As a board, I've heard two main priorities. Infrastructure, taking care of our facilities. Mr. Eunice is a great addition to our team, and we will benefit from his wealth of experience. This year's budget tackles projects that were either not funded or put on hold. Hopefully, over the next year, we will see some great strides in addressing our facilities. Paying off Headington Oaks bonds. This is one area we will start looking at next year to come up with a strategy to put the future board in a position to pay off the bonds in 2032, which is 9 years from now. I've heard this over and over again from board members that we need to make sure we are in a position to do just that when the bonds are callable. The input from the finance team and administration will help us work towards that goal, which is achievable with the right financial decisions. Our strategy board has been to hold flat on the tax rate. This year's recommended levy translates to a proposed tax rate of 82.41 cents per $100 of assessed value, which has remained flat since I have been on the board, except by referendum. We will continue to work with our finance team and administration on long-range forecasting to improve our financial position long-term. I want to also voice some concerns about the timeline of the budget. The board was given the budget and only had 13 days to look that over before committee meetings. It's a 500-page document. That was a lot of work that we put in. From my discussions, board members still have many questions which need to be answered. I know this board put in a lot of hours to get to this evening, and I thank you for your commitment to Peoria County taxpayers. Our 2024 budget is a living document, and the County Finance Committee will continue to work on the concerns of board members. We will be addressing those issues as a board in the coming months. The budget is the most important part of our jobs as county board members. I want to compliment every board member I spoke with. You all have had great input and are fully engaged in this process. I ask you to support the 2024 budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Williams. Any other questions? Member Rulin.
I support this because I know how hard, specifically, Sharon has worked and everybody involved has worked. However, the fact that it is a living document that amendments can be made to makes it a little bit easier to swallow. We have in this budget ignored that we saw just a few minutes ago in Ms. McCord's presentation, revenue versus our reserve policy. We have the benefit of a increased assessed valuation, and it would appear that we're doing everything we can to spend it without putting anything into the reserves. And we know that 8 years from now, every decision we make is going to be a very difficult one because there will be no reserves. I think we have to be aware that the overwhelming support that we heard just weeks ago for Sharon's proposal, Member Williams' proposal, to pay off Headington Oaks in 9 years, everybody around this horseshoe felt really good about that and supported it, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was unanimous to support the change in language that would allow that to happen. But this budget doesn't reflect that. It stretches out the payment period for those bonds. Nobody on this board wants to see that happen. I'm willing to support it, but under the pretense that this is a living document. It needs some work, but in 13 days, no board member can do that work. Even if you had a brilliant idea, I can't get 17 people to go along with me. I can't get the county administrator or all the people that move this kind of a document forward. So assuming that, we have to admit that those staff positions that remain unfilled, they would be filled if we could fill them, and they could be filled. And so we have to look at the worst case scenario. I understand that we've only been successful at spending $3.8 million of the $7 million that's projected. But let's assume that for some reason tomorrow, all of a sudden, we fill them. That's $7 million, and we're committed to it. It's in our budget. I think we need to just keep this budget on the tip of our tongues. We need to have it on every month. We need to be talking about what should change, what could change, what needs to change. And so I'm going to support it, but I hope it doesn't stay in its current form.
Thank you, Member Rulon. Member Daley.
Well, I really especially want to recognize all the work that Sharon put into this, and I wholeheartedly agree that we need to be spending more time after the beginning of the year to go over these things, whether it's our increase in full-time equivalents over the last 2 years, which have been substantial, or as Member Rulon pointed out, the Headington Oaks bonds. I'm very happy with our focus on infrastructure, and I really appreciate that you have articulated, I believe, what the majority of the board feels. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Member Phelan.
I would just like to quickly say that I very much agree with what Member Rulon said, that this needs to be a living document, that we do need to continue to keep eyes on it and change it or amend it as needed. There's a lot of things that I believe need to change inside of the budget. I would also say that I was naive to coming on the board, having an ample amount of time to go through the budget prior to the election. I felt like, 13 days is plenty, and it's not. It is not nearly enough time to facilitate conversations and ensure that we're asking all the right questions for our constituents. So I would ask consideration next year that timeline is extended.
So Member Phelan, next year we will be looking probably at a November timeframe or special meetings due to the fact of insurance and trying to make sure that we have the numbers actually accurate. And I do think, as boards change, Last year was our first year that we used to do this in December. Then we said, put the time frame on staff. Nope, we want to do this in November. And then about a year ago, we said we would like to see this in October, and nobody thought it could get done, but staff did get it done. And so, nothing is set in stone that this has to be done in October. And whether or not we need to push this back, it's only been done in October for, I believe, 2 years now. So I think the consensus coming around here is that maybe we got aggressive as a board by saying that we wanted this document produced in October, and they have to make a lot of projections that it's unfair to staff of trying to figure that out. So maybe it is we as a board either have a special meeting at some time and still do it maybe in November, or give them extra time, and that I think that's consensus around the board conversation. But next year, due to some other things, will be probably in November, so we can see if that is more of a realistic time frame for everybody. I do want to thank, this would be the first budget, not my first budget around the horseshoe, but first budget in the chair seat. I know I asked a lot of different people in different committees. I think all the chairs did a fantastic job of working with staff and trying to hammer down the budget and understand it. I know a lot of board members went to meetings, which is not something that has always happened in the past, to try to understand it. And for the 5 new members, and we still have some fairly young members on here that are not even just first termers, it was a lot to take in. I know you were all engaged. So as first year as your chairman, and first year, I'm speaking from Member Williams here too, we do appreciate everything that you did to help get us here. Is it perfect? Nothing's ever perfect, but this board has their eyes on everything, and I know we will keep looking and continuing to make ourselves better and a better and achieving organization. So I know finance led the charge, so Member Williams, thank you, but to all the chairs and all the members, heartfelt thank you from me for sitting for the first year to go through a budget of 150 million plus organization is quite the deal. So I appreciate it. Any other questions, comments? Member Blair.
Just very quickly, I enjoyed being able to go to those budget meetings prior, so at least for those that were involved for operations committee that I got to see, I really felt that I got to ask a lot of questions and really understood it well. So I hope we continue to do that.
Anything else? And it would be unfair for me not to thank staff for all the meetings that they had and questions that they did answer when I did have it from across the entire team. So thank you. I know it's been busy with everything else going on, so thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, roll call.
Member Blair?
Aye.
Member Bryant?
Aye.
Member Coates?
Aye.
Member Daly?
Aye.
Member Duncan?
Aye.
Member Groves Allison?
Aye.
Member Hare? Member Kelch? Member Phelan? Member Renault? Member Ricker? Member Rosenbaum? Member Rulin? Member Salzer?
Aye.
Member Williams? Member Windisch? Member Dillon?
Aye.
17 ayes. Next would be suspension of rules.
Is there a motion? Member Phelan? Member Allison? So we're suspending the rules, and I'll explain at the next one, but for an emergency declaration that is in the authority and the rules, but then the board needs to approve it afterwards as a checks and balances, and I'm happy to explain why I signed the emergency declaration when we get to that point. But yeah, it's because it did not come up through committee. Any questions of why we're suspending the rules? Roll call.
Member Blair?
Aye.
Member Bryant?
Aye.
Member Coates?
Aye.
Member Daly?
Aye.
Member Duncan?
Aye.
Member Groves Allison?
Aye.
Member Hare? Member Kelch? Member Phelan? Member Renault? Member Ricker? Member Rosenbaum? Member Rulin? Member Salzer?
Aye.
Member Williams? Member Windisch? And Member Dillon.
Aye.
17 ayes. Next would be item 12, the emergency declaration to suspend Chapter 6.5 of the Peoria County Code of Ordinances, centralized purchasing for the immediate repair and upgrade to the motorized security gate for the Peoria County Jail's loading dock.
Is there a motion? Member Daley? Member Allison? So I'll explain why I don't take using an emergency declaration for a purchase order to be usually considered an emergency or something that you would go around. But due to conversations with the sheriff, we recently had, that gate has been in some disrepair, and Director Bruner's here and Mark Little could touch on it also, but it's been in disrepair and neglected from the budget for the last few years. And we did have an estimate from a few years ago that was well over $100,000, but that was a much different type of fence. That fence did lead to the escape of a prisoner while taking out garbage. This is something that we can't wait multiple months to normally go through the process of putting it out for procurement, committee. That makes it about a 3-month process, 2-month process. This was a fair price that was reviewed by the team, by a local company that will be doing the work and can meet the requirements. That is why we did Scott and my administrator Sorrell and myself with consultation, and the sheriff did declare that an emergency to try to speed up the process for an ease of employment. And if I'm missing anything, Director Bruner can.
Like 2015, 2016, I think it was in the capital budget, and never made the cut. It was initially estimated $150,000, so we're doing for about half that at this time. I think that's a pretty good price.
Member Salzer.
Maybe I'm missing something, but I thought our administrator, if it was under $20,000, could go ahead.
So this is for $69,000, and this would have needed to
you
be.
said 20. I
No,
thought-
sorry if I did. So this
I
is a little
misheard.
over $69,000.
Okay.
But it wasn't something there was quite a bit of conversation, and the need was expressed by the sheriff's department of why this cannot wait.
My hearing isn't always best. I thought you said.
Sorry, I might not have said it
was less
correctly.
than 20,000.
Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, roll call.
Member Blair?
Aye.
Member Bryant?
Aye.
Member Coates? Aye. Member Daley?
Aye.
Member Duncan?
Aye.
Member Groves Allison?
Aye.
Member Hare? Member Kelch? Member Phelan? Member Renault? Member Ricker? Member Rosenbaum? Member Rulin? Member Salzer?
Aye.
Member Williams? Member Windisch? Member Dillon.
Aye.
17 ayes. Miscellaneous and announcements.
We'll start on Member Rulin's side. Nothing? Member Phelan.
I was just going to ask if I could be provided a list of constituents that signed petitions for the CO2 pipeline.
I'm sure we can figure something out. Member Allison.
I just wanted to congratulate the JDC for their reaccreditation for quality health services for youth in custody. So that's all.
Good deal, thank you. Member Renault.
Thank you. I just wanted to invite everybody to Richwoods on Wednesday. The Marching Knights are going to perform their halftime show for friends and family, no cost at all. It's kind of they're really proud of their show this year. They've worked really hard. They've struggled for a couple years gaining membership back from COVID, and they really have something to show off. So hopefully you can show up. It's at 6 o'clock. It'll only take probably maybe 20 minutes. So even if it's chilly out, hope you can join us.
Is that the same show they did at U of I? Or different? Well, that's a different show probably.
Yeah, the U of I, they just joined the U of I band and played some of their songs. Much different show.
Coach, nothing?
Just going to say, after 3 months of me forgetting my iPad, I bring it and I didn't even get it used. Okay.
You could have followed along on the agenda with that. We appreciate you remembering it. Can I just make a quick announcement? At each one of your stations, you should have received a little card that has a QR code on it. We kind of followed suit with the Sheriff's Department and with the Circuit Clerk, and now the County Clerk has an app where we've been referring people to so that all of you can share that with your constituents and they can easily access any information that they normally get in our office at the tip of their finger. You know, a lot of people have questions on how do they get their birth record, how do they, what do they have to do for their marriage license. You can just go on the app and it'll tell you everything. In addition to that, I partnered up with the Election Commission because in a lot of the counties, the elections are handled in the clerk's office, and since ours is different, we still get calls, people asking for information about voting things. Well, on that app is an election button, and it goes straight to the Election Commission's website. So Elizabeth was happy that we put it on there. It'll help alleviate a lot of calls in their office, and it'll be helpful, I think, for everyone overall. So it's just out there for you. We've got extra cards if you want some to pass out to other folks. And when we get our new directories, it'll have the sheriffs, the circuit clerks, and mine as well, all on there for people to just scan it on their phone.
Anything else? And thank you, Administrator Musselman, for filling in tonight. All right, meeting adjourned.